All right, ladies and gents, I just blasted through 10 episodes of The Bear season 3. Okay, I spent this weekend and I decided from Friday till today, or Thursday night till today, to blast through The Bear season 3, get through this thing. I couldn't resist. It is, as I've said before, if not my favorite show on TV, one of my favorite shows on TV. I've watched a lot of good TV this last year, especially for you guys out there, mentioning a lot of those shows in our episodes here on Story Archives. So, with that being said, welcome back to Story Archives. I'm your host, Mario Busto. This is going to be a solo pod today. I'm going straight from the dome. There are no notes prepared. I have pretty much binged The Bear season 3 in its entirety. And I don't think it's to be judged. By itself. Christopher Storer, the creator of the series, he definitely took a turn here with the pacing and the overall direction of the series. And I think, someone who kind of like I try to like kind of piece the puzzle together slightly. I did wonder where the Bear was going to go from when, you transition the restaurant from a full-on beef in and out sandwich shop to a crew trying to fight for a Michelin star. And I was just wondering, like, okay, where's the series going to go? Obviously, when season 2 ends. And so you start to like think from, at least from my perspective, like, where's the conflict going to come from? Is the conflict going to just be entirely about the pursuit of the coveted Michelin star? Is it going to be more of the Berzatto's ridiculous amount of family trauma they got going on? And that is one of the key themes in this series. And we do pick up what seems like immediately, like the day after Carmy has his meltdown in the freezer, the walk-in freezer. And we're just left with this very moody, depressive Carmy throughout the entire season 3. By the way, this is a full season review. So if you're just thinking this is episode 1, no. And honestly, I think the series is better served to talk about it, looking at it from the whole season than doing this episodic, at least with season 3, for a multitude of reasons. Why? Because season 3 feels like a giant, like if you were going to like make this a 3-part movie, it feels like almost like a 3-episode miniseries. That's what season 3 feels like to me. Because you go through, what you're setting up is all the character dynamics and the struggles that I think that are going to take us to the end of the series. You got Carmy's, how do I put this? Just all the layers of complexity. Maybe I don't talk about Carmy first. He feels like the most complex one to talk about. But you have all these things going on. All right, let's try to break this down. We'll go Carmy, we'll go Sid, we'll do Richie, we'll do Sugar, we'll do Donna, Donna. Jamie Lee Curtis, you are one talented woman. However, the character of Donna in episode 8, the pregnancy episode with Sugar, there's something about her character, the devouring mother, as you've heard in other, if you listen to like philosophy or like psychiatry or psychology, I think they call it the devouring mother. Donna is the embodiment of that devouring mother, but she's kind of like the devouring mother in recovery, realizing how shitty of a mother she was to her children and the effects it's having on them, to the point where Sugar hides her pregnancy from her mother, because you see why. The moment from the episode 8 intro where she's going, he, if something out of Midsummer, when you're watching that episode, it just, she drives me up a wall, her character. Anyways, we pick up with pretty much Carmy's meltdown in the freezer. He's making peace with everybody throughout the entire season, and the season really ends with him making peace with absolutely nobody, not even himself. So that, I have to say, is probably the most frustrating thing, is the lack of resolution with any of Carmy's conflicts. He takes 10 episodes pretty much pondering how to say, I'm sorry to Claire, and he just doesn't get around to it. He starts the season by saying sorry to Richie, but things don't really ever sort of heal or mend between the two of them. And then you have this ongoing kind of red flag situation with Sydney, who you can kind of, you can kind of rationalize it. You can kind of justify the fact that she doesn't feel, although she's technically a partner in the bear of the restaurant, and the whole season they're trying to get her to sign this agreement. And that's kind of the annoying part of this season, is that you don't get a resolution with anybody's story for the most part. I think the closest storyline that gets a resolution is Sugar. It's her issues with her mother. She actually confronts them. And then the last time we see Sugar, she actually texts a photo of the baby to her mom. And that's kind of like wrapping that up. Like, this is Sugar saying, hey, I know my mom wasn't perfect. She scared the hell out of me. I'm not going to repeat that with her. I'm not going to repeat that with my daughter. I'm going to face this head on. I'm not going to ice out my mom. But at the same time, I'm not going to give her the freedom to come in here and traumatize my child either. So you get kind of like that resolution with Nat's character. Pete, you love him. I mean, everybody in the family has an issue with Pete, and he's probably the most well-adjusted guy in the entire series. He's a gem. A little clueless, but he's a gem nonetheless. But let's talk about the Sid storyline, right? So you got Carmy, who's dealing with the trauma of being locked in the freezer. He's constantly thinking about his a-hole ex-boss, David Fields, who he confronts in the last episode. And even there, it's like a balloon just losing its air. It doesn't even pop, and Carmy kind of doesn't handle that confrontation well. It almost feels like if you've watched Mad Men, where Ginsberg's in the elevator with Don Draper, and Ginsberg's just so infuriated with Don, who seemingly left his idea in the car, right? Because they went to go pitch, and they left his idea in the car, and Ginsberg's just pretty much had it up to here with Don, and he says, what did he say? He said, "What do you think about? I think about you," or something like that. He says something along the lines of what Carmy says to the a-hole chef in this series. And Don does almost the same exact response that the chef does to Carmy, which is, "I don't think about you at all." This is a guy who, like, I guess many problems in life, if somebody causes you pain, I think most of the time it's probably something like this, where the person who caused the pain doesn't even think about what they did or the impact or anything like that. And Carmy here is reeling, thinking about this guy every moment he has, measuring himself up against this impossible standard, this impossible douchebag who's actually infected the way he leads and manages people. And you see it throughout the season that he is kind of like Carmy. Carmy has a choice. He could be the version of himself that he wants to be, that he admires, but he often, when he's not doing well mentally, he devolves into this version of himself that is just like the chef who traumatized him. And so Sydney's dealing with the decision to make here, where she has two grade A offers. She has the offer from the chef from I forget the name of the restaurant, but I should look it up. But yeah, let me look. I'll look that up while I'm trying to multitask here by myself. She gets an offer. Let me not get into the weeds, but she gets an offer to run the other restaurant, and she's going to make like $80K a year. She's going to be a part equity owner, and she's going to have full say of pretty much the direction of the restaurant, the cuisine, the style, everything. She's the CDC, right? While her situation at the Bear is she's dealing with this chaotic, borderline, I don't want to say abusive, but it's just pure, frenetic, chaotic, unhealthy working environment that's going on there, to the point where she has to make a tough decision. Now, I think the thing that's not really, that I don't empathize with on Sydney's side, is that she's coming from a place of selfishness in a lot of ways, right? Where she starts her journey off in the series as somebody who's looking for a chance to work at the Beef. She's studied Carmy. She traveled to New York just to try his food, pretty much. She's been a fan of his work for years. And now that she's there, now that he considers her an equal, even though he's not perfect, he's literally offering her equity in his restaurant, which he did not have to do. She's now looking for the easy way out simply because her face isn't on the magazine cover. So that sort of selfishness is a red flag on her character, but it does seem like the direction the series is heading, with her dramatic panic attack outside of her own apartment at the end of the series, which is the last we see of Sid's character. It does seem like we're heading towards the conflict where she does need to, whether it's the right decision or not, she does need to get the hell out of the Bear and find out what she has. Like, what does she have out there? what promise does she have, and what can she do on her own rather than under Carmy's shadow. But it's hard to really like her character because of the selfishness of the fact that she's going to leave now. So on one hand, I understand that she doesn't want to be a part of that chaotic environment, but the other hand is that she's actually leaving because she wants the glory. She wants to be, she wants the credit for being the great chef. She doesn't want to be lost in the shadow of Carmy. But that's what you're going to get when you work at Carmy's restaurant. It is his restaurant at the end of the day. So maybe that is the point, is that she does need to get the hell out of there and do her thing. Speaking of Sid, I thought we were going to head for a love interest either between her and Marcus or her and Carmy. And it turns out I feel like it's going to be neither, but she has some like heavy flirty energy with Luca, who feels like not that they're forcing him into the show, but I think everybody likes his character. And so they're finding a way to work him into the show. So speaking of love interest, one of Richie's, I guess, core conflicts in season 3 that does not get resolved, just like almost everything else, which, by the way, I'm saying is fair because season 3 ends with to be continued. And if I'm not mistaken, I heard that season 4 of The Bear might be filming like right now, but I heard they're going straight into season 4. Similar to Atlanta, which I didn't get to watch the last season or 2 of Atlanta, but I watched the first 2 seasons, I think. And I love that show, just like the endless backlog that we all have of shows and films that we want to catch up on. And that's my caveat with all of my season 3 reaction. It's my least favorite of the 3 seasons so far, definitely. But maybe once I watch season 4 and see season 4 is the continuation of what goes on, it would be better. But with that being said, if I'm gonna be honest, if I'm gonna give my honest critique, and I don't do this lightly, because like I said, it is one of my favorite shows on TV. Season 3 did feel like it dragged, and it didn't feel like anything pretty much happened from. I'll be honest, the majority of the season felt like it could have been in 5 episodes, not 10. And maybe that's my biggest complaint about the season. Episode 6 is by far the best episode of the series and the closest that you get to the core thing. I think the core recipe of why people love The Bear, which is learning to love these characters that you initially could not stand, like Tina. And episode 6 is actually directed by Ayo Edebiri, who plays Sid, and I'm probably butchering her name, but whatever. She has the best episode by far in terms of the season itself, because you get the backstory of Tina, which, by the way, where they placed it didn't feel like it fit in the middle of the season. It feels like almost an episode we should have had either later on, like in season 4, considering when you measure it against everything that's going on. I could have better seen that episode in a situation where, for example, let's say in Carmy's endless pursuit of trying to get this Michelin star, right? That he has an issue with Tina, who's screwing up on the line the entire time. Because I found it a little convenient that the employees that Carmy has brought along from his brother's old shop all have the requisite skill to stick around in a restaurant that's aiming for the highest level of achievement in culinary, like culinary achievement. And so it's kind of hard to buy that Tina would survive in a kitchen like that. So I think that episode would have meant more to an audience member who loves her character if we saw some sort of conflict of, Carmy's thinking of firing her or something like that. And then you get this episode of just exactly what is her attachment to this place. I don't know, just something along the lines to draw some of the side characters we love so much, We barely got any of Cousin in this season other than Josh Hartnett, who is engaged to his wife, who's one selfish woman. She's like begging him to RSVP to her wedding. Like, okay, yeah, subject yourself to the torture of watching the woman you love get married to someone else. Yeah. Like, her character is borderline unlikable because of that. And you have just overall his loneliness. And honestly, it felt almost like Richie should have realized that him and Carmy are kind of in the same place. They are so close. They're so closely going through almost the same thing. They're still mourning the loss of Mikey. Carmy wants to be with Claire, but he doesn't know how to quite tell her. Richie, the same thing. He wants to be with his ex-wife, but I don't think he has the courage to tell her, and I think he's going to just kind of let her get away and go off with the girl from the restaurant that he met in the episode Forks. So I mean, they got this similar thing going on, but I think the problem with season 3 of The Bear, one of the problems to me, was that I love the chaos of The Bear and the kitchen and the just frenetic environment, the screaming, the everybody cursing each other out. Like, I love that about season 1 and 2. But this season is just all down note. Like, there's not really a positive note for almost anybody in the series. So it feels almost like, it reminds me of something else, but I'm not going to mention it because it's a show that's going to come out with a season 2, and I don't want to spoil it for people. But it's similar, like, where it just felt like one down note. But if we zoom out and look at it as part 1, which I think that's what they should have called season 3, just part 1, part 3.1 and then part 3.2. I think this is all to set up the main conflict here, which is, all right, Carmy's chaotic obsession with proving everyone wrong and the anxiety that comes with that, and coping with his brother's death. Richie's loneliness and trying to move on from his wife. He finally takes off the wedding ring. The negative review that's only going to probably point towards Sydney's dish as the highlight of the review. So I think that's going to cause some conflict. We didn't even get Sydney telling Carmy that she's been offered a CDC position. So we didn't even get that in season 3. Man, they better release this in fall, because honestly, the amount of open-ended storylines that they did in season 3 is kind of ridiculous. To hype up season 3 and literally have almost no resolution. It really felt like, with the amount that happened in season 3, that this could have been done in a much shorter number of episodes, and we could have gotten straight to the point of Carmy's pursuit of the Michelin star, Sydney's pursuit of glory, and that storyline of just building this restaurant and making it like a success story, the underdog story. But I think part 4 is going to be insanely good. I'll tell you that. I think when you have the element of the negative review, I think you're finally going to have that conflict come into play with Cicero, who seems to be going down economically himself. Like, he seems like he's about to go broke. You're going to have Carmy, who no longer has a financial backer. Carmy, who hopefully can manage to balance work with love and get that peace in his life, as they constantly call Claire. Although I was thrown off with Claire because they show her in bed with somebody else in the season, and I couldn't tell what that was about. I don't know if that was a friend comforting her or what was going on there, because Ted mentions it, which, speaking of Ted, I love the facts. Don't get me wrong. But I like them in doses. And it felt like every interlude between, it felt like there was way too many scenes with an interlude of just like a fact comedic bit between scenes. And I just, would love to see those characters go a little, deeper. I think probably the most touching scene, Neil fact is definitely, the favorite. But now they're doing the thing where the facts are coming in and there's like 9 of them, and John Cena's one of the facts now. And they do this thing throughout the whole season of The Haunting, where they do that. But I think Neil's best scene was when he goes to visit Claire at the hospital and he tries to be the middleman between her and Carmy. That's like the best scene of the facts, and that doesn't come until episode 9, I think, or 10. I think 9. But that just goes to show you, like, it literally takes Carmy 10 episodes to apologize, and he doesn't apologize. He doesn't make any peace. His restaurant, there's not one scene like where you get in season 1 or 2 where they mix the chaos with kind of like one great experience or one sort of dopamine rush of like a great restaurant service. Instead, it's just all negative. And the only person who seems unaffected by the negativity is Marcus, whose mom dies at the end of season 2. And he seems to be the only one who understands Carmy's obsession. And the most touching scene with Marcus, and probably maybe my favorite scene of the season, is when Marcus returns to the restaurant. See, I'm not, I didn't write notes, but I'm not doing this empty-minded review of it. Like, I remember pretty much everything from the series pretty well. Probably my favorite scene, top 2. I don't know what my favorite scene of the season was, and I'll say that next. But the scene between Marcus and Carmy finally he's a little more vulnerable with Marcus, and he tells him, hey, man, here are my non-negotiables in this paper. I know it's kind of stupid. And Marcus goes, no, it's not stupid to me. I get it. and he's the one who went to Copenhagen, so he saw the level of attention to detail you need to get to that highest level, and he's now doing it with a higher purpose, which is for his mom. And he tells Carmy, "Hey, I need you to do me a favor." And Carmy says, "Yes, chef." And Marcus goes, "Take us there." So that's going to be the journey. That is the journey for Carmy. He owes everyone in this restaurant. He owes them to take them to the mountain, to give each of them purpose. He's shown everybody. And that's like the thing that I wish Carmy would have gotten to, but it's inevitable that that's got to be Carmy's destiny for season 4. And in lots of ways, Carmy's character is like Miles Teller's character in Whiplash. He's this guy who's so hyper obsessed with proving himself to someone who's great at their job, but absolutely abusive at their job, which is J.K. Simmons' character in Whiplash, right? And so what does Miles Teller character do in Whiplash? He throws away this relationship with this cute girl who loves him or is super interested in him. Why? Because he's judging her lack of achievement. He's pretty much saying that if he has a relationship with her, then he won't have time to be great, blah, 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 blah. And then at the end, what happens with this character? He sort of disregards the professor, does his own thing, carves his own path on this drum solo, and you get that beautiful shot of just J.K. Simmons, just the edge of his mouth like lifting up in a smile. He's got the girl in the audience, and you get the happy ending with Miles Teller pretty much getting everything. The fulfillment, the internal fulfillment, the satisfaction, and the balance of his life, right? And Carmy's kind of dealing with that too, where season 3 is very much Carmy losing. It feels like he's just losing everything near and dear to him. His relationship with his cousin. He can barely, I don't even think he went to go see his sister's baby. His relationship with Sid is in shambles, and he's not addressing almost anything. And so what you hope is that season 4 leads him to kind of that Zen place where he finds purpose and meaning. All right. Favorite scene of the series. And I don't blame Christopher Storer for trying to squeeze in as many flashback Mikey scenes as possible. But episode 6, when Tina's, it's just the best episode. It goes up there on one of the best episodes of The Bear, period, I think. And by the way, I think the premiere of season 3 was also an incredible episode. I just don't know if it should have been the premiere of season 3. I just think maybe it could have been and something else. I listened to an interview with Joanna Nagel, who's the editor. I think she edited episode 1. And the production workflow of The Bear is pretty incredible. The speed at which they film and edit is pretty insane. They will shoot an episode. They'll get the footage out immediately to an editor. They'll edit the dailies, and then they'll discuss the direction, I guess, of that specific episode and continue editing as they're shooting. And it's the reason why I think they started filming in January or February, maybe February. And it's already, the season's out completely in June. So that was pretty impressive. But, I guess episodes like episode 8 with Jamie Lee Curtis in the hospital room, those kind of help. Those help in keeping a budget down, even though I'm sure Jamie Lee Curtis is a high sticker value now after winning the Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think that's what it's called. Where was I getting at with that? Anyways, the way they edit it is sometimes they will move different pieces of episodes into other pieces of episodes, and so I do wonder if maybe the premiere, that whole montage of the dedication, and it was kind of like a testament to culinary practice, if that would have been better suited for some time later in the series. But I don't know. Maybe the whole purpose of season 3 was to give the audience no sense of resolution and push it forward. But hopefully they get to filming immediately, because season 3 doesn't really leave you satisfied in any bit. It actually makes you leave you feeling a little empty, because you see this character. Let me pull it up, because I'm tired of. There's two aspects of the show that I'm blanking on names right now. And I'm dying to know what the hell they are. So give me a second here, guys. Funeral. Episode 10, The Funeral, is what I'm referring to here. Chef Terry. Okay, finally. Chef Terry's restaurant, she's closing it down. And really, the sense that you get is that she's she's satisfied. She's not satisfied with her life and running the restaurant anymore. And you kind of see all these chefs, and they're all kind of the same thing. They're run down. They're burnt out. They actually show Bradley Cooper's face in one of the montages, like as an ode to his character in Burnt, which is a low-key underrated movie. But her character even is so kind of disassociating. Like although she's nurturing, she's not nurturing at all. In fact, I kind of muttered to myself, she's kind of sociopathic, like in her inability to kind of like relate to people. At least that's what it feels like to me. And I know she's the smiley female character in this, but she's kind of the same as the David Fields guy. Like she goes out there to talk to Carmy and he asks her for advice and she says, nothing's going to help you. And I'm like, okay, damn. Like, all right. You're hoping in that moment after Carmy has this, watershed moment where he's thinking he's going to tell this guy off. And it really is just like a big dud. The guy doesn't even remember his name, which he's full of crap. He remembers his name, but it doesn't. And you're hoping that you get like the yin and yang. You get like that he's the worst example of a boss, and then you get Chef Terry, who's the good example. But he goes outside, talks to Chef Terry, and she's not as bad as the other guy, but she's not great either to talk to. So, and she's kind of like downplaying the death of her own restaurant. Like everybody else in the restaurant cares way more about the restaurant going down than she does. But there's that. So leaving off for the series, you still get the unrequited love of Claire, who seems to just be there waiting for Carmy to call and say, I'm sorry. And maybe it'll be too late by the time he does, because he wasted a whole damn season to do it. Jeremy Allen White's character, Carmy, continues to be the most... all these characters are so tortured. They're having a delightful party at her house. She's got 2 job offers on the table, and she's outside of her apartment hyperventilating at the end of this season. And I know she comes from a troubled home too, but her dad is a fantastic dad for all accounts, from all accounts, from what we can tell. I think it's just a little bit dramatic, Sydney. I think you just got to have a conversation with Carmy, who's at the end of the day not a bad guy. He's a very empathetic guy. He's always kind of been fair to his employees, and say, hey, listen, I want to do this, that, and the other, and just go about it. But hey, it's television, so we got to make it dramatic. There's a couple characters who got no shine at all. Ibra has been left in the shade. He just runs the sandwich side of the shop because by day, the Bear operates as a Italian beef sandwich shop, and by night, it operates as a fine dining, which is a pretty killer business model if you think about it. You kind of balance out the, I guess you just make sure that your restaurant is maximizing revenue at all times, but they're still hemorrhaging money because Carmy's insisting on buying microgreens and Bavarian goat cheese and who knows what else. Cicero's character got a lot of shine this season. I really do like Cicero a lot. He reminds me of someone, but he's a good character. He's the uncle who wishes he did a bit more, and he's there more for these kids than anybody else is in the family, and he still beats himself up over it. So you gotta love Cicero's character. He's one of the gems. He's actually one of the highlights for me, and maybe my favorite character from the season when you kind of like go out from it all. The computer's introduced, which is kind of like his finance CFO guy, who's also a super genius on the financial side, but they introduce him as well, who's pretty interesting. And all right, where was I going with that? Heading into season 4, Carmy gets the bad review, it seems, because that's how we end the episode of the finale. Cicero threatened to close the restaurant if they get a bad review, so we're going to see if Cicero actually does that. Sydney feels like she's leaving. I think it's all but guaranteed that Sydney will be leaving at the start of season 4. Carmy's going to need a replacement for Sydney. Is it Luca? Is it somebody else? Who knows? We'll find out. Does Tina leave? Is that the point of episode 6? Is that the point? Is she going to go leave with Sydney, who very much was the girl who helped elevate Tina's game to the next level? Or is she going to stay with Jeff? Is she going to stay with Jeff, who actually turned the whole Bear around, right? Marcus doing his thing. He's kind of obsessed with this sleight of hand reference, so I think he's going to end by making this crazy magical dessert and just blow everybody's minds. So I don't think anything's going on with Marcus. Richie's wife is getting married to Josh Hartnett's character, who is obnoxiously friendly. So either Richie hopefully gets back with her, or he moves on, and hopefully, for the love of God, finds peace with Carmy, because those two are just, they're two peas in a pod. So they just got to figure it out and make it work. The facts, I need a little less facts. Either that or give me some actual character development from the facts and not just these, like, the most chaotic dramas happening in the restaurant, and the facts are just like, am I haunted, Neil? Am I haunted? Am I haunted? What does it feel like to be haunted? Hey, have you ever been haunted, buddy? Like, the whole season is just that with the facts. Like, just give me something deeper with them, man, other than just constant comedic bits. But hey, nonetheless, all love for the facts. I do love the fact that anyways, I do like that they're bringing in like super famous actors to play different members of the facts, similar to the Berzattos, where I'm assuming we're going to meet Aunt Didi. I think that's what they named her, Aunt Didi. I'm assuming she's going to be just this crazy A-list actress that we don't know of yet. But yeah, I can't wait for season 4. Sorry if I'm rambling at this point. I think I've spoken most of my mind on this season. I wasn't expecting to record today. We're actually going to drop a House of the Dragon episode later on tonight, which has not disappointed at all. Season 2 has been excellent. But as for The Bear season 3, this will be a once watch through for me until I watch season 4. Once I can see the resolution of all the stuff that they have set up for season 3, and I think Christopher Storer knows it, man. I think he knows that he tortured his audience with season 3. I think he did it on purpose. I think he's a little sadistic. I admire him. But I think he definitely knows he's taken us through the ringer. And I'm trusting the vision that season 4 is going to just be top tier television and, you know, take the Bear to the finish line. I don't envision it going much more past the season 4. I think season 4 should probably be the end of the Bear, to be honest with you, unless they introduce some other element to the show. But no more than 4 or 5. That is it. Because 3, as it is, felt like it should have been half as long as what it was. And now I'm impatient for season 4, for Carmy to finally just say, I'm sorry to Claire. The whole season, man. All right, y'all. Also, we didn't get a lot of just like, one service in the restaurant. Like just one time, like one episode where they're in the restaurant, they're making food, customer, employee interaction. We didn't get a single episode where we actually got like a full service. Like in season 1 or 2, which one it is that they start taking to-go orders, where that takes you through a full day in the restaurant. This felt way more chopped. And I love, I love anything related to culinary. I love Chef's Table. I love Kitchen Confidential, which you might as well put Kitchen Confidential as like the poster boy influence for this series, which is the book that made Anthony Bourdain famous and led to all his TV shows, No Reservations, blah, 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 Travel Abroad, whatever you want to call it. We didn't get any of that in this season. We got like very chopped up segments of chaos, but we didn't get like a full-on service in this supposed Michelin star level restaurant. I just want to see the dishes. I want to see what they're serving. We know the beef. We know the Italian beefs. I want to see the actual dishes that he's working on. We saw this dish that he kept throwing away. But I don't know what was on that plate. I don't know the vegetables, why he chose them, why, the different things. Like, I want to see that aspect of the show. You already shot a damn love story, a montage where you're showing all these different famous chefs. You got Christina Tossi in there. You got Grant, whatever his name is, who has an incredible restaurant from what I hear. You literally have Thomas Keller. You got David Ballou. You have all these famous chefs all over the series, and you're not spending any time to get into Carmy's mind. Marcus is in his notebooks, but we're not getting into Carmy's mind as to the inspiration behind his dishes. The only bit that you get is that supposedly he's going very much old school, stodgy. There's nothing new about it. At least that's the critique that Sydney hears from the guy who's trying to offer her a job, right? Which I'm going to get that guy's name right now. Chef Adam Shapiro. That's all you get. You don't get much more about like how good are Carmy's dishes. No moments where like when Carmy's winning over the old staff over to him and Tina tries his food for the first time where she's won over to him. You don't get any of that. None. And that was disappointing to me. How about Gary, who's now going to be a sommelier, Napa Valley level sommelier? Like, take us through his journey. We didn't get any of that in this season. And it just felt like we could have. With how much that didn't happen in this season, it felt like there was room to give us those, give us an episode on Neil Fack. We got half of the, there's probably enough Fack material that you could have given them a 40-minute episode in this season. But we didn't learn anything more about Neil than we already knew. We don't learn anything more from Gary than we already knew. Marcus, give us an episode on Marcus on his dessert journey. We didn't get any of that. So I'm being nice, but at the same time, you love this show. You love the characters. You want to see more from them. You got Tina's episode 6, one of the best episodes of the series. I don't think anybody will deny that episode's not great. And that scene, I didn't mention it, but I'll end the podcast with this. That scene between her and Mikey at the end, talking while she's crying, eating the sub in there, and he offers her a job. That's the best scene in the entire season. That is the best scene to me. I think arguably nobody can argue with me on that, but that to me is the best scene in the season and encapsulates what the Bear season 1 and 2 is all about. So we'll see where 4 goes from here. I think it will be top tier. I just think season 3, you got to go watch a comedy, like a comedy series after you watch season 3. But hey, kudos. It is well done. It is well shot. It is well edited. Sound design is flawless. It's a masterpiece in terms of the way it's shot, the cinematography, and even the direction. It's just darker material and, more somber material. But nonetheless, I'm a fan. I will be tuning into season 4. I put The Bear season 1 and 2 in my gauntlet of best TV shows ever. And as long as we view season 3 from the perspective that season 4, like this is a prologue to season 4, that's what it feels like to me, then I think it redeems itself. Hell, I mean, look, True Detective season 1 is top tier. Season 2 is universally, everyone sort of agrees that it was a letdown. Season 3 kind of bounced back a bit with Mahershala. And then Night Country is literally the same level as season 1 of True Detective. So shows can do this. Every once in a while this happens. And you can't just, like, in my opinion, I feel like if you love what Christopher Storer created in season 1 and 2, then you got to trust his vision for season 3 and trust him with 4. And then if season 4 is a dud, then we can kind of come back to the table and say it never was able to recapture the vision of season 1 and 2. But until then, give him a chance. Give season 4 a chance. And that's it. It's not overtly negative of a review. There were moments. I just wish there was a little more resolution. I wish we got some of that resolution in the season and I didn't have to wait till season 4 to get it. But luckily, these guys work so efficient that we probably get season 4, unless FX is going to drag this shit out, we probably get season 4 before the end of the year, if I had to guess. Hopefully, right around Thanksgiving time, we get another Thanksgiving episode. Or was it Christmas Eve? I forget. Anyways, I think it was Christmas Eve. Until next time, y'all, I'm sure I might be one of the few people who actually finished The Bear this weekend. But when you do, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you think about The Bear in the comments. You can email us at contact@soapbox.house. And you can tune into our House of the Dragon coverage. I thought I was going to do more on The Bear, but I'm not. I'm going to wait for season 4 and dive into it then. Maybe I'll do like a season 1 and 2 of The Bear review. Oh yeah, wish list item for Hulu executives out there. Let me buy seasons of The Bear on the Apple Store, please. I like collecting shows and movies. Call me crazy. I don't want them all to be on a streamer. And I'd like to buy The Bear. I might not buy season 3, but I'll buy season 1 and 2. Anyways, all right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, hope you're having a great weekend. Have a happy 4th of July, and I will see you on the House of the Dragon episode later on tonight, where we'll be covering episode 3. So until next time, peace.